So let's talk about ChatGPT, right? It's the fastest application ever to 100 million monthly active users, right? It is on fire and it is everywhere. How should CIOs be considering adapting or incorporating the rapid rise of large language models like GPT? And does low code have a role here?
I think it goes to the communication thing. So we've tried to put some guardrails or a policy around it of just giving people an understanding of what this tool does and what it doesn't do is probably more important. It does have some uses, gives it some try some different things with it, but be careful and be cautious of how you share our own information.
Right? There's ChatGPT, which is a commercially available model, and that same OpenAI model, of course, is available for use in your own enterprise apps. And so, I guess my question kind of is, you know, what's the opportunity for CIOs to actually use that in a safe way?
Oh, I think it's huge. I think we're looking at how do you digitize something that's analog? Policies, procedures themselves. You're trying to figure out, okay, how do I create an incident response plan? Well, have this thing write it for me. It gets you 80% of the way there. And it's not a 100% tool, but an 80% tool, that's a great tool.
So I think we have to be careful when we're using this technology to understand what data feeds that answer, and we need to evaluate and grade those answers over time, and then understand how we can ask the right questions to get the right responses that are right.
I guess what I would add to that is I don't know that there's a lot of value in getting to the wrong answer faster, right? And there's a big difference between a fact and an opinion. So coming from a professional services background, much of what is actually issued to customers is based on professional judgment. I think, Greg made the point, 80% is better than 0% for sure, right? So you can get to 100% a lot faster when you start with 80. But I think we need to set it up to think about them as another digital employee.
And so let me go back then and kind of on the theme of controlling, the data that your employees get. You've talked about guardrails a lot. Yvonne, you especially mentioned it. Talk about the significance of guardrails and the role of IT to enable low code and no code to control enterprise risks. Like, does it increase enterprise risk? How do you manage that?
Well, I'll start. If you don't put guardrails in place, it definitely increases enterprise risk, because then you have a lot of independent people with likely less depth or breadth of knowledge making decisions, not maliciously or because they're not intelligent people. They just don't have the background, right? So, if you just take a chief information security officer, it's very difficult for that person to really get a full grasp of every element of every regulation that they have to adhere to. Because if you're a multinational organization, you don't just have the things within your country. And if you take the United States as a microcosm, right, you have 53 of them. You have federal laws and you have individual state laws. And you have to be able to adhere to all of them. So when you start talking to people that are employing these tools that want to use data and they have great ideas and they have very good intentions, they have no idea most of the time about any of that.
I would like to strike the words guardrails. I'd like to think of them as bowling bumpers. What does a bowling bumper do? It does the same thing. It keeps the ball from going into the gutter, but it actually absorbs the blow and redirects the ball towards the head pin, so you get the maximum impact from the throw. And so I think IT needs to absorb impacts, needs to redirect in a very soft and gentle way, so that the kids can all play and have fun. There's a lot of expertise that goes into the cybersecurity world. Even I have trouble following it half the time, and I pay professionals to help me understand it as we go through time.
If we don't have the bumpers, my fear is you're going to tear down probably the last 5 years you've devoted and invested in your cybersecurity platform and framework. It can all come crashing down in an instant if we don't have the right governance in place and the right understanding of how data is used and should not be used and how it connects. So yeah, I think it's an important role IT plays.
The bumper idea, I like it. I do think you need to soften the blow, and you do want to redirect. You're not trying to just say a blunt no, crash into this and be done. Can you imagine without rules of the road? How fast would you go down a street with intersections if there were no traffic signals, no stop signs, and you had zero expectation that anyone was going to slow down or stop? What technology can do is help create those rules of the road. So when you're not on the journey with somebody, right, and you can't, put up a guardrail where there isn't one, or where there isn't a bumper, or whatever it is, they have some semblance of maybe I should be tapping the brakes now.
One of the benefits of low code being a platform that IT owns is you get those bumpers that actually control and restrict what people can do within what IT allows. And also on the flip side of that, measurability for IT, things that you wouldn't get in last year's technology, right? More than just like creating boundaries or policies, does this open up new opportunities because you can actually control and see what's going on in the business?
Yeah, I think it goes back to that incubator innovation platform of allowing people that didn't necessarily have a tool or maybe even a voice to be able to come up with an idea that can help change your business or change a department or just change one house at a time. It's giving people a voice that they may not have had before.
I'd separate the concept of low code, no code strategy with low code, no code tool. In my organization, I would want that strategy to be co-owned at the IT steering committee level. What are we going to do with low code, no code? How are we going to use this in our business? How are we going to deploy it? My world, IT would own the tool, the support of the tool, the the use of that tool over time by the business, and the switching out of the tool when it's no longer appropriate or when it isn't the best tool.
I think one of the challenges is when some of these tools are very low cost and they can be procured with a credit card. It's very difficult to even pretend that you have control over it, because people just go out and put it on their credit card. And even if they can't get reimbursed, it's like it's worth $100 to me to be able to just go off and do this thing and see if I can become the hero. And I don't think it's the IT organization's job. And unfortunately, I think it's fallen to them. Oftentimes what you see is companies will look the other way if they like the outcome of the misbehavior.
And so let me then turn it around now. We've been talking about kind of constraining and controlling the system. Let's look outward at enterprise-wide apps, right? Thousands of users. Is low code the right platform for that?
To me, it's an okay starting point. But as soon as you get past a critical mass of users, it needs more. What it does really great is it provides a place to start a project, the place to get the requirements out in a fast and easy way, the place where we can stare at it together, business on IT, and say, which way do we want to take this? How many people are going to use it? How do we want to institutionalize this thing? Do we want to institutionalize this thing? What kind of value does it provide to the organization? What's the cost of it over time?
If you can define ahead of time ideal use cases for low code, no code, it doesn't mean you can't ever add to that list, but to try to give people some context of what it's good for and what it's not good for. To me, it's kind of like when people say to an IT organization, well, we want your apps to act exactly like the ones on my phone. Okay, well, the problem with that is most phone apps, if you really look at them, have a very limited functionality. They do a couple of things really, really well and really, really fast. And when you get into these more complex applications that are doing all kinds of, data synthesis and redirects and automation of very complex processes, they're just not even the same animal.
Is it stable? Is it securable? Can I integrate it in with the rest of my platform? Is it scalable? So kind of all the ables that you want it to be. That's why you buy the big maintainable. That's why you buy the enterprise grade tools in the marketplace. Low code, no code, to Dave's point, might get there in 4 or 5 years. I don't think it's there now. I do think it has specific uses, and it gets you there quicker, but I don't think it's enterprise grade yet.
Is the enterprise ready for low code, no code? Do we have the right skills inside the business to think the way you need to think in order to really employ no code, low code to the fullest maximum extent? I would suggest we have to grow as organizations, both in IT and the business, to be successful.
So let me ask then. So this is faster time to value. We've said earlier. How do your organizations in IT measure value of applications in your portfolio? And how does that apply to maybe a growing portfolio because you can build things faster?
ROI is a made up number based upon a bunch of made up facts that never existed. And it's somebody's idea of where it could go. And no one ever validates it 2 or 3 years after the project is done. As much as you want to, and you want to have good governance like that, and you want to interact with your business and have someone acknowledge that it didn't work, it's never going to happen. It's not going to happen in a big public company like the one I used to work for. It's not gonna work at a smaller private company like the one I work for now. So you need to come up with a different value method around how it's used. So utilization is probably a good way to do that. The noise associated with it, the effect on it on business process. Does it make people more efficient? Do people feel it makes them more efficient? Do they use it every day? And what is the noise around their use of it? Are they happy with it? Does it, how does it interact with clients? How does it make our job for clients better?
Yeah, I almost feel like I can tell you better what it's not as opposed to what it is. It's not ROI. It's not cost savings like headcount, unless you actually remove people, which never happens. The funny story, and Dave will chuckle at this one. Ask a broker to credit the CRM system for gaining $1 revenue. It will never happen. But it's an invaluable tool in the marketplace, and you have to use those kind of what I call secondary metrics to justify it. So if I'm building a website, I want to see traffic. I want to see how long they stay on my site. I want to know when they leave my site, where do they exit? Do they exit to a competitor, or they exit to somewhere else that, it's those secondary metrics that really tell you your value.
I totally agree with Greg. I have not seen anybody ever cut staff after putting in technology. It just doesn't happen, with rare exception. But what I have seen happen is that you don't hire as many people. I want to expand my business, go into a new market. I can do different things through using technology to expand my reach or expand my capacity without adding any people. I think that is really a measurable number. And I know from my own experience in working as a CIO, setting measures of success at the outset of these large development projects to say, how will we know that we were successful? And if you ask yourself that question at the front end, one of those things may be, well, in order to do the same thing, we'd have to hire 20 people or 30 people. And you agree, we're not hiring 20 or 30 people. And if you don't, and you get the results that you anticipated, well, you didn't save 20 or 30 salaries, but you avoided them.
We have made quite a journey so far. We have killed shadow IT from the lexicon. We have gotten rid of guardrails and replaced them with bowling bumpers, which is going to make sense to nobody that hasn't gotten this far in the video. So as a parting shot then, right, of everything we've covered and with all of your experience, for people watching this that want to begin the digital transformation and all those steps that we've talked about, what first step should they take to be successful?
Well, I'll join it. I think you have to first define what digital transformation means to you, because it means very different things to different people. Some people are way on the spectrum of it's total innovation. It's like an invention. I've never done this before. It's something new and spiffy. And other people, it's like, I'm going to automate something that I've always done for the last 100 years. Those are two very different journeys. And so if you don't understand where your organization's trying to go and where they really want to invest when they say digital transformation, you have a high likelihood of not succeeding. Because I think more often than not, technology professionals tend to look towards the innovation side of that than they do automation side.
Yeah, kind of add on to that. Understand you will not do this yourself. If you believe you're going to walk into this and do this yourself, you may as well walk right back out the door because it won't happen. You've got to have a team of cross-functional, cross everything to help you determine what digital transformation means to your organization, what it means to them, and what success looks like. But you won't be able to write that on a piece of paper yourself. You've got to have a steering committee. You've got to have conversations with people to help you build what digital transformation is and how you're going to go do it.
Got a motivated team with goals. David, what's the third thing we should do?
What's going to move the needle with respect to my company's clients? And what are they looking for from my company that I can help my business with in terms of digitization? How can I have them do that faster, better, cheaper to create a better service level?
Thank you all for your time here today and bringing your expertise. Like, digital transformation is still a little bit of a journey of discovery for a lot of organizations. So having this expertise in one spot on one call is really valuable. Yvonne, Greg, David, thanks for being here.